There is a secret whispered among monks that those who pull away with grace cause the wind to chase them, and those who retreat into silence make the mountains listen. The scrolls speak not loudly, but only to those who are quiet enough to hear. And in this message, this prophecy, there lies something your soul has long waited to remember. If you have ever felt the urge to step back, if your spirit tells you be still, it is not weakness, it is alignment. And tonight, you will understand why men long for a woman who pulls back. Remain until the end, for there are dates not marked in calendars, written in the stars. Moments where your absence becomes more powerful than your presence. This is not seduction. This is fate. There is a stillness in the woman who retreats, not from fear, not from pride, but from knowing. And this knowing cannot be taught through words, nor inherited through books. It arrives like the morning mist over ancient mountains, softly, silently, and with reverence. In the first of the sacred understandings, we come to recognize the quiet power of a woman who does not chase the world, but returns to herself. Her stillness is not absence. It is a presence so complete, so rooted, that it does not need to announce itself. This is the sacred pull. It is not the forceful energy of taking, convincing, or clinging. It is the gravitational presence of one who stands at the center of her own universe. Unmoved, unshaken, yet deeply felt. There is an old parable told in the mountains of Wudang. Cho, a young monk, asked his master, "How do I make others respect my presence?" Cho, the master, led him to a quiet lake and told him, "Stand in it until the moon rises." Cho, as the monk stood still in the water, shivering, hours passed. Cho, finally, the master said, "No, look." Cho, the monk, turned to see the full moon mirrored perfectly in the water at his feet. Cho, the master, said, "You see, when the water is still, it reflects the heavens. So too must you become still enough for others to see their own soul mirrored in your presence." When a woman pulls back, she becomes that still lake. She becomes a mirror not just for a man, but for fate, for divinity, for the alignment of things beyond words. In daily life, this truth reveals itself quietly. A woman once deeply entwined in her partner's every decision, every emotion, begins to feel something stirring within her. Not distance, but depth. She stops replying to every message immediately. She cancels one evening to sit beneath the sky in silence, and something curious begins to happen. Where once her presence was expected, now it is cherished. Where once her attention was constant, now it is sought, not because she is playing a game, but because her energy has shifted from reaching outward to listening inward. This is the shift of sacred feminine power. It is not performance, it is purity, not strategy, but spiritual sovereignty. Silence is not the absence of sound, said Lao Tu Chuo. It is the presence of the deepest harmony. You may ask, but will the man not walk away? Will he not misunderstand? Yes, perhaps, but only if he is not yet ready to see. And if he is not ready to see you in your stillness, he was never truly seeing you in your noise. There is a time when the flower must close its petals, not to hide, but to protect. And in that retreat, it gathers strength. When the sun returns, it will bloom again, not smaller, but stronger, not desperate, but deliberate. So too must you trust the sacred pull. You are not walking away from connection. You are walking deeper into alignment. And from that alignment, true connection will rise, not from need, but from mutual awakening. We now begin to feel time differently, not as hours and days, but as energetic thresholds, moments within the month when the veil grows thin and the soul is called to choose again. Will you chase or will you return? There are windows in time that the monks once studied beneath the rhythms of the moon. They marked them not with ink, but with breath, times when the body feels unsettled, the mind restless, the heart strangely alive. These are the sacred time windows. Between the 9th and 12th of each month, a subtle tremor begins. Some call it emotional turbulence, others spiritual wind. But the awakened one knows this is the gate of echoes. The gate opens gently. Old dreams resurface. You may hear the voice of someone from the past. You may feel a yearning that has no clear object. Do not run. Do not rush to fix or label. This window is not here to explain. It is here to awaken, to show you what you have outgrown and what still clings to your inner gates. Zen tale describes a hermit who lived in a small hut beside a bamboo forest. Each night, the wind would rattle the bamboo stalks violently. Unable to sleep, he prayed for silence. But one night, the wind did not come, and in the thick stillness, he realized it was not the wind that disturbed him. It was the memory of something he had never released. The next morning, he burned the letters of a lost love he had hidden for years. From then on, even the wildest winds could not disturb him. Between the 9th and 12th, we are all that hermit. We are all visited by echoes. They do not come to punish. They come to clear. Observe them. Write them down. Breathe with them. But do not let them decide for you. This is a time for internal release, not external reaction. And then comes the second gate. The 17th to the 21st. What the monks called Fèvre the mirror's test. This period is less gentle. Where the first gate whispers, the second confronts, disagreements may arise, misunderstandings, delays. You may feel unseen, unvalued, provoked. Remember, the mirror does not show the other. Chua, as the Buddhist sage Shantideva once wrote, there is no enemy greater than one's own untamed mind. These days are your training ground. To hold your ground in peace while the storm tests your balance. It is easy to stay centered when all flows well. But true stillness is forged in chaos. A woman who pulls back during this time does not do so from coldness. She is protecting her alignment. She is refusing to be baited into old patterns. She is no longer dancing with shadows. She is becoming the light that reveals them. A real world example, a woman, deeply on her healing path, notices around the 18th that her partner becomes agitated, distracted. She feels the urge to correct, to explain, to pull him back into love. But something within says, pause. She takes a walk instead, lights a candle, breathes. She remembers what her soul once said, you are not here to fix the storm. You are here to be the calm. The man returns. Not because she demanded, but because in her stillness, he remembered himself. This is the quiet magic of those who walk with the moon. They are not swayed by noise. They are synchronized with the deeper tides of time. Those who know the Tao do not compete. So those who remain still invite all things to return. Tao Te Ching, verse 22, Kere. So as you move through these sacred days, mark them. Not with alarms or calendars, but with awareness. Notice the wind on your skin on the 10th. Notice the feeling in your chest on the 18th. Notice the way your spirit whispers, wait, rest or release. The universe is not hiding its signs, but only those who pull back can see them. Only those who step away from the noise will hear the bell of destiny ring. This is not superstition. It is sacred listening. So we return to the beginning. A woman who pulls back does not do so because she is giving up. She does so because she is tuning in to the movement of time, to the murmurs of her soul, to the path that cannot be seen, only sensed. And in her retreat, something astonishing happens. She is not forgotten. She is remembered deeper. Because the man she pulls away from, if he is true, will feel the absence not as punishment, but as a summons to rise, to meet her not with noise, but with presence, not with promises, but with preparation. And if he is not ready, her silence will teach more than her words ever could. So let this be your knowing, not every connection must be held. Some must be surrendered. Some must be tested. And only those that pass through the fire of divine timing will be worthy of your return. You are not here to be always seen. You are here to be aligned, so that when you are seen, it is by one whose eyes have been opened by the same silence that shaped you. Let the sacred pool guide you. Let the gates of time test you. And let your stillness speak. For in that stillness, you are no longer just a woman. You are a prophecy fulfilled. Some souls are not born to follow the path others take. They come with a deeper awareness, a quiet sensitivity, and an inexplicable knowing that there is more, not just in the world, within them. These are the ones we call the chosen. Not chosen because they are better, chosen because they are called to carry more weight in silence, called to see what others ignore, called to feel deeply, not for themselves alone, but for the greater harmony of those around them. When a woman carries this knowing, it often feels like a burden at first. She may walk into a room and sense its unrest before a single word is spoken. She may wake from sleep with a message, an emotion, or a vision that does not seem to belong to her. Yet it rests within her chest like a quiet thunder. This is not confusion. This is calling. There is a tale from the eastern highlands of a young woman named Mai who lived at the edge of the forest. From a young age, she spoke little but noticed much. She would touch the trees and whisper, and they seemed to whisper back. The village laughed, called her strange, distant, too dreamy to be practical. But one year, a great drought came. The rivers ran dry, the crops wilted. Panic swept through the village. Yet Mai simply walked into the forest, silent, barefoot, and listening. She placed her hand on the oldest tree and stayed still for 3 nights. On the 4th, a cloud formed above the forest and rain returned. When asked what she had done, she said, "Chua, I did not ask for the rain. I simply remembered the silence that brings it." To be chosen means you do not react as others do. You listen longer. You pull back when the world rushes forward. You hold space, not just for your own heart, but for others to meet themselves in your reflection. A woman who is chosen often confuses even herself. She wonders why she feels responsible for peace in a room, why others come to her with pain they've never spoken aloud, why she can no longer tolerate noise, chaos, or empty talk. She is becoming a vessel. And in relationship, this manifests deeply. A man may meet her and feel a pull he cannot explain. He may feel exposed, vulnerable, even irritated, not because she has judged him, but because her energy mirrors back what he has yet to face. The wise are not always the loudest, wrote the mystic Wei Wu Wei. They are the ones whose silence awakens truth in those who hear it. This is the unseen power of the chosen feminine, not to fix, not to chase, but to simply become so fully, so truthfully that the world must recalibrate around her. One woman, after years of relationships that left her drained and unseen, stopped searching. She began walking in the mornings without her phone. She meditated under a fig tree near her home. She cried with the moon, journaled by candlelight, and let her soul become her closest companion. Quietly, a man entered her life, not with noise or promises, but with presence. He had felt her before he saw her, because she had become so aligned, so inwardly whole, that her energy spoke louder than her voice ever could. This is the path of the chosen one, to purify within, to awaken first alone, and then to become a sanctuary others can recognize, even in silence. But the path is not without solitude. It requires great patience. It demands faith without proof. It calls for a kind of devotion that cannot be faked. Devotion to growth, to truth, truth to stillness. Only from that sacred place can one love without attachment, lead without dominance, and guide without words. And the deeper one goes into this path, the more vital becomes the next gate, the listening to intuition. To be chosen is to feel more. But to remain aligned, you must trust what you feel. This is the bell that rings without sound. The quiet voice that says, turn here, or not yet, or simply rest. The mind often protests. It wants logic, maps, guarantees. Intuition flows like a river, never straight, never loud, but always sure. A parable tells of an archer and a blindfolded student. The student begged to learn the art of aim. The archer said, you must first listen. The student scoffed, listen, I want to shoot. So the archer blindfolded him, handed him a bow, and said, now, wait. For days, the student sat with the bow in hand, blindfolded, hearing only birds, wind, footsteps. On the seventh day, the archer whispered, now. Without sight, the student lifted the bow and released. The arrow struck the center of the wooden post. How? He gasped. The archer said, because for the first time, you felt the world instead of fighting it. Your intuition is this invisible pull, and when a woman lives by it, she becomes magnetic, not because she knows everything, but because she listens before acting. In real life, this might appear simple. A woman receives a text from someone from her past. The mind says, rapidly, polite. But the body, that wise vessel, feels a tightness, a closing. She pauses. Beneath the pause, she hears, let it go. That door is not yours anymore. And she does. Later she discovers the man had returned not to reconnect, but out of confusion, seeking a place he had once known but no longer respected. Had she ignored her intuition, she would have fallen into an old pattern. By listening, she stayed sovereign. Cho, the heart has its reasons, wrote Blaise Pascal. Cho, which reason knows not. Ancient monks believed that intuition is the language of the soul remembering what the mind forgot. In a world that rushes to answer every message, solve every conflict, and fill every silence, the intuitive woman becomes a sacred interruption. She no longer asks, what should I do? She asks, what do I feel beneath the noise? And from that space, still, deep, uncluttered, her life begins to align in ways logic could never orchestrate. She meets people at the right time. She avoids situations without knowing why, only to see later that danger had been waiting. She pulls back when others push forward. And in her retreat, she is not losing ground, she is becoming the ground itself. There is a sweetness to this life, not loud, not glamorous, but steady, meaningful, and true. The path of the chosen and the intuitive is not easy, but it is real. And in that reality, a woman becomes more than desired. She becomes destined. Not all will understand her, but those meant to walk beside her will recognize her without needing proof. So pause here in this silence, not to decide, but to listen. What is your soul saying today? What door is it asking you to close? What season is it preparing you for? Pull back, breathe, trust, for in that sacred pause, you are not waiting, you are aligning, and in alignment, you are unshakable. The path of the awakened woman is not one of constant movement forward. It is a rhythm, a sacred dance of approach and withdrawal, of expression and silence, of presence and absence. Like the ocean's tide, she learns that life does not demand permanence in one direction, but asks for harmony with its cycles. To understand love, to understand life, one must first understand the mystery of cycles. Union and separation are not opposites. They are not enemies. They are necessary companions in the evolution of the soul. There is an old Zen story of a disciple who asked his master, "Why do you keep sending me away, only to call me back again?" The master smiled and replied, "Because the moon returns to the sky only after it disappears into darkness. If you do not vanish, you cannot be seen anew. And so it is with relationships, with love, with spiritual growth, with the self. A woman who pulls back is not closing a door. She is turning toward the deeper current that guides her, knowing that connection, not built on truth, will dissolve in the tide, and what remains was meant to endure. In daily life, we often fear these moments of separation. We assume they mark the end. But the cycles of nature remind us otherwise. The tree loses its leaves each autumn, yet we do not mourn. We trust that the stillness of winter will lead to the rebirth of spring. So, too must the heart learn to honor its seasons. A woman may feel a shift in her spirit, a restlessness, a call inward. She may find that words no longer come easily, that her desire to be available to others is replaced by a quiet craving for solitude. In this moment, her soul is moving into the inner season. The separation is not from love, but from noise. If she honors this pull, something profound happens. Her energy recalibrates. She returns not as the same woman, but as a clearer, more whole version of herself. In doing so, she allows her connections to reorient around her truth, not her performance. The poet Han Shan once wrote, "You cannot see the mountain clearly from the mountain itself. You must step away, and only then do you see its shape." Separation allows for perspective. It is not rejection. It is reflection. There is a woman who, after years of trying to keep love alive through effort and sacrifice, finally allowed herself a full season of withdrawal. She did not announce it. She simply turned inward, stopped explaining, stopped proving, stopped giving more than she had in the stillness. She found the parts of herself she had forgotten. And one morning, as she walked alone through a quiet park, she felt it, a deep sense of return, not to the relationship she once tried to save, but to herself. A month later, the man she once loved reached out, not to pull her back, but to say, "I now understand. Your silence taught me what your words never could." This is the quiet wisdom of separation. It teaches through absence what presence cannot always reveal. We must not fear this dance of coming and going, for it is written into the stars, into the breath, into the beat of the human heart. Contraction and expansion, rest and rise, union and solitude. To live in rhythm with this sacred pattern is to live wisely. And yet, for many, these moments of withdrawal are mistaken for weakness, uncertainty, or for loss. But this brings us to the sixth and final revelation that what feels like delay, what feels like pause, is often divine preparation. There is a sacred timing to all things. The flower that blooms too early is destroyed by frost. The fruit picked too soon is bitter. And the soul that forces its unfolding misses the richness that only patience can bring. What is delayed is not denied, said the Buddhist philosopher Di Jen. It is being prepared by the nature of things. A woman walking the path of awakening must come to see that divine delay is a kindness, not a punishment. When life slows her down, when doors close, when people fall away, when her heart tells her, "Not yet," it is not failure, it is calibration. The monks speak of the bell of readiness, a silent chime that rings not in the ears, but in the heart. It sounds only when the soul has aligned with the timing of heaven. To act before this bell tolls is to climb the mountain before the path is cleared. To wait for it is to move with the wind, not against it. A parable tells of two travelers in the desert. One, impatient, rushes ahead into a sandstorm and is lost. The other, sensing something in the air, sits beneath a stone outcrop and waits. At dawn, the storm passes and the second traveler continues, arriving safely at the oasis. The delay saved her life. It was not stagnation, it was protection. So too must we begin to trust the delays in our lives, the moments when things do not move, when responses do not come, when we feel suspended in silence. They are not voids, they are wombs. Within them, something is forming, an unseen alignment, a preparation of events, a strengthening of the inner foundation. A real life example comes from a woman who applied for a spiritual teaching position. She was qualified, passionate, deeply prepared. Yet months passed with no response. She felt discouraged, questioning her path. But in that space of waiting, she began deepening her own practice, journaling daily, meditating at dawn, and teaching small circles in her home. When the call finally came, she was no longer the same applicant. She had not only grown, she had become the teacher she once hoped to be chosen as. What seemed like delay had been divine development. A man may not be ready when you are. A dream may not unfold on your timeline. The connection you long for may feel distant. But do not mistake slowness for silence. Life speaks in time. The river does not rush because we are thirsty. It flows at its pace. And yet, its waters are sure. To trust the delay is to surrender to a rhythm greater than your own. It is to know that you are being made ready. Sometimes the love we desire cannot reach us until we have outgrown the part of us that would misuse it. Sometimes the opportunity cannot open until the energy around us has cleared. Sometimes the man must walk his own fire before he is able to stand beside your flame. And in all these things, the delay is not cruelty, mercy. So if you are in a season of separation, if doors are closed, if silence surrounds you, pause, breathe. Feel the stillness. You are not being forgotten. You are being prepared. And when the time is right, when your soul is aligned, your spirit refined, and your energy clear, what is meant for you will arrive without force. Because you did not chase it. You became the space where it could land. So we return once more to the truth that began this journey. A woman who pulls back is not stepping away. She is stepping within. And in that space, in the quiet between heartbeats, in the breath that lingers before the exhale, she becomes something more powerful than presence. She becomes alignment itself. From cycles to silence, from intuition to readiness, from separation to sacred return. This is the path of the awakened feminine. This path, though often quiet, leaves echoes that shape destinies. And now, the scroll has been read. The prophecy has been spoken. If you are in a phase of pulling back, honor it. You are not alone. You are aligned. The stars above, the rivers below, and the wind between them all conspire to bring what is meant for you. But it will only come when you are still enough to receive it. The man does not long for the woman who waits. He longs for the woman who walks away with grace. For she is not walking away from him. She is walking toward herself. And in doing so, she becomes what all hearts truly seek, a woman who cannot be possessed, only honored.